On this episode of Bite Sized, we are watching and discussing the 60th scene of the movie Twilight. For those of you watching along at home, that's from 1:35:04 to 1:35:45. And now, on to the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Bite Sized. If this is your first time listening to the show, here's what's going on. My name's Ben. I am your host. I'm watching the movie Twilight one scene at a time with a different guest every episode. I find someone to be on the show, send them around 30 seconds to 3 minutes in the movie Twilight, and then we talk about it for about a half hour. Joining me today, I have a comedian and actor. She is also part of the Cold Shower comedy group you heard about last week. Riley Rogers, welcome to Bite Sized.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Glad to hear that. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to start this interview the way I start every interview on the show. That is by asking you, what is your history with the Twilight franchise?
Well, cast your mind back to perchance 2008, maybe 2009.
Sure.
I am in 7th grade.
Okay.
My friends think that Twilight is stupid. Mm-hmm. I've never read it, and I refuse to see the movie.
Okay. Strictly because of peer pressure or because of their reviews?
Right. Like, I think they thought it was stupid, so I was like, okay, I think it's stupid too.
Right.
You can't have your own opinions in 7th grade.
No, absolutely not.
Like, not at all.
Yeah.
But I remember it was the year that the movie had come out, but I didn't go to see it in theaters. I had never read the books. And one day, my mom brings home from Blockbuster the DVD for the first movie. And I was like, okay, whatever, I guess just put it on. Like, I guess I'll watch it since you already got it.
Yeah. What else are you going to do? You're in 7th grade.
Right.
You can't just go get your own movie.
Right. And I wasn't with her at the Blockbuster, and she was like, I bet she'll love this.
Interesting. She didn't know. She hadn't been talking to your friends.
Right, exactly.
She didn't know the word on the street.
She put it on, we watched it, and unfortunately, I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Oh, no.
I love this. But I didn't tell my friends that I liked it. And then that Thanksgiving, I was over at my grandparents' house, and my aunt was like, oh, you just watched the movie? I have all the books. I said, okay, like I'll turn open the first page,
sure.
see what it's like.
What all the fuss is about.
And then I think I read pretty much all 4 books within the course of like a weekend.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I definitely had that kind of obsessive fan personality as a kid. Well, as a kid now too. But,
and that hasn't changed at all, apparently.
But I literally tore through them.
Yeah.
I think I was just the right exact age for it to really just resonate with me, and for me to not really think too critically about what was going on.
A key part of early Twilight fandom, from what I've heard from guests on this show. So you don't really start asking questions about things until much later on.
No, exactly. And I have a distinct memory turning to the last page of Breaking Dawn.
Yeah.
There was a page, I think these were like kind of original prints. Wait, I should sell these,
first editions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
First editions. And on the very last page of Breaking Dawn, there was a page that said something along the lines of, do you want more to the story? Visit thetwilightsaga.com. And I had just gotten my first computer, like my first solo computer. And I typed in thetwilightsaga.com, and I think that has sent me down a path in life that I was not meant to go, but it's too late now. It was like a fan forum, like, you know, that they had a ton of those back in the day.
I remember the internet circa 2008.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever, 13, 12, however old you are in 7th grade. Like, that was the first time I had realized, like, oh, yeah, like, this is something you can do. You can, like, go online and talk about the stuff that you like. And that was the first time I had even, like, understood what fan fiction was, because like people would do that on there. They'd like write their own fan fiction. I was like, whoa, I had never thought like, oh, you can just kind of do whatever you want online for no money.
Hey, that's what this podcast is. Exactly. I'm doing whatever I want for no money.
And I do whatever I want on stage for no money. And but yeah, it was like a real turning point. And then obviously from there, I discovered tumblr.com, a whole
Sure.
spiral. I don't think I stayed on my like Twilight phase for very long, but it was definitely like a stepping stone into who I am as a person.
Interesting. What did you move on to from the Twilight phase to what? What replaced that?
I mean, naturally, it was Harry Potter,
Oh, okay.
which I think like I had like seen the movies before, but I didn't read the book. So that's really what I moved on to. And then eventually the television show Glee.
Oh, sure.
Which I think that's
Again,
kind of the natural.
all three media franchises that are perfect, and if you question or think about critically, hold up super well. Yeah.
No, they're really awesome, and they should teach them in the schools.
My wife is currently, I guess, for her, rewatching Glee, but I've never seen any episodes, so I will occasionally come home or whatever and see this show and just try, because the only thing I know about Glee is that around 2008, about once a year, a Glee cover of a song would get popular and you would hear it on the radio. That's all I know about Glee. But as I just will occasionally catch clips of this show, I just really can't understand how it ever came to be.
You really had to be there. And I was also, Glee came out at a similar time when I was in show choir. My show choir teacher was Mormon, related back to Twilight. And we were like, Miss Williams, you have to watch an episode. You absolutely have to watch an episode. And I think the one she tuned into was like an episode in the first season where like Kurt comes out as gay. And she was like, why did you guys tell me to watch this? And we were like, that's because that's us. Like, obviously that's us on Glee. We're like 12.
That's as far as representation goes when you're that age.
Yes,
it's a
exactly.
show choir. Yeah. So did you ever come back to Twilight?
The first Twilight is one of the movies I've seen the most.
Okay.
And I'm not really somebody that rewatches movies a whole ton.
Yeah.
But I have actually been to Forks, Washington.
Really? I have too.
Really?
I would love to swap experiences.
Yes.
What was it like for you?
So I went because my mom and my stepdad were considering retiring in Washington.
Okay.
In Port Angeles, actually, where Bella tries on her prom dress.
Famously, yeah.
So I went up with them around the end of 2023.
Okay.
And I was like, well, we're so close to Forks. Let's just go down.
You might as well.
And see what it's like.
Yeah.
And I actually hadn't realized until we were kind of in the middle of that one street town that I was like, oh, they didn't film any of this here. At all.
My wife and I, we'd been only dating for a couple years. We went to Seattle for her birthday, mainly so that we could rent a car and drive out to Forks for an afternoon. And we quickly had that same realization that like, there is that sort of opening scene when Bella first drives into Forks and like that is it.
Yes.
The rest is in Oregon somewhere.
Yes, it is all in Oregon because it is like, I mean, of course, movies always portray small towns like not really like small towns actually are.
Right.
I was like, it's truly one street like that has a strip mall and then a couple other things.
You got like the Welcome to Forks sign is there.
Right. It's just the Welcome to Forks sign. And I'm like, people like the Cullens would never live anywhere like this.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you were vampires and you were trying to avoid humans as much as possible, you probably would, especially if you want to live somewhere rainy. Did you go to the museum while you were there?
Unfortunately, the museum was closed.
Oh, man. That's one of the 3 things to do in Forks.
Right. Well, I know I had to satiate myself by going to one of the most beautiful places in the world, the Hoh Rainforest.
So yeah, is there any other way? Obviously you've got this one show coming up, but how else, any other way has Twilight influenced you in adulthood?
Yeah, I mean, as people say, like we are in the Twilight Renaissance.
That's
now,
what they say.
Or just past it perchance.
I sure hope not.
Yeah, true.
I'm kind of banking on Twilight sticking around for a little while.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, every time I rewatch the movie, despite its faults, I'm kind of like, and I only speak for the first movie in this.
Yeah.
Like they kind of got it. Like what the people wanted, what the fans wanted, I feel like they gave it to them.
What a 7th grade girl circa 2009 wanted.
Exactly.
You got.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like, and I know all the actors come out post Twilight and they were like, yeah, it was so stupid, which of course it was.
Sure.
But when you see them give their performances, and I'm including everyone in their ridiculousness, like they kind of are giving exactly what the people wanted. Like,
definitely. Yeah. I've never read the books, but from what I understand, that is, they're doing the job they need to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the scene we viewed today. Not a lot goes on in the 41 seconds that I sent to you. The brief overview is Bella is in a taxi, and then she's not in a taxi, and that's about it. Let's get into it. She leaves the hotel. She gets into a taxi. My first question, how is she going to pay for that taxi?
That is exactly what I thought as soon as she left, too, because there is not a single word exchanged between her and this extra, well, not an extra, but
the cab driver.
The cab driver.
Yeah.
And I'm like, not even $1?
Right. Do you think Bella
No
carries
tip?
cash?
Well, no.
No, I don't think like Charlie didn't give her a credit card.
Oh, certainly not.
No, I don't think Edward gave her some sort of Carlisle money or anything like that. What is how is she paying for this cab?
I think it's through sheer kindness of the cab driver.
I guess.
Like imagine you're this cab driver and this 17, and I'm doing air quotes, year old girl is like, I have to go to this clearly closed dance studio.
Possibly abandoned.
Like even like in the nighttime.
Right.
And
that's another question we're going to get to here in a second.
She seems kind of down and out. She's biting her lip. She's mumbling. Like, I don't know.
Even though you just picked her up from the fanciest hotel in Phoenix, I assume.
Oh, no. And I'm like in an area that looks just like California to me.
Yes, because it is. I looked it up while I was waiting for you to get here. That's in California.
I knew it because, and here's another thing. I am from California. So I was like, this looks like exactly like lower LA.
That is a hotel in California. I learned that thanks to my new favorite website on this show and my unofficial researcher from over 10 years ago, twilightgirlportland.com.
Nice.
I found a blog entry of hers from 2013.
That's
all about where that hotel is. She has come through in the clutch. Twilight Girl Portland, if you are out there, please. I assume you're older now, Twilight Woman Portland or whatever.
Seriously.
I need to see if that blog has updated within the last decade. But anyhow, you are correct. That's California.
But I just have to assume that if this cab driver perhaps has a kind heart, which it seems like most people interacting with Bella are deeply enchanted by her.
Yeah, I guess.
in some sort of way, she has some sort of spell on people. So I would have to assume that this cab driver, I guess, took pity on her.
Right. Do you think she knew the address of the dance school? Did she say, I'm guessing this is where she used to take ballet lessons as a kid. So like Renee was driving her there. So she probably doesn't know. I don't know the street address of the places I went to a lot as a kid.
Oh, definitely
So
not.
did she just sort of say Mimi's School of Dance?
Which this was the first time I realized it was called Mimi's School of Dance.
Cool name. Great name. I want to know who chose that and why.
Which I'm like, perchance it was like a French ballet instructor. And
no, Mimi's not French. She is definitely a 65-year-old woman who's been doing this for a long time.
Right. And the funny thing about Bella allegedly taking dance, which, I mean, fair enough. I would say most people were stuck in some sort of extracurricular as a kid, be it dance or sport. But Bella in the books is famously described as very clumsy.
Okay, I talked about this on the last episode that you have not heard yet. But yeah, like what the hell?
And I'm like, this dance teacher must have hated her.
She must have been the worst. She must have been like just Renee kept paying for the lessons. So I guess Bella can, as long as the check's clear, Bella can keep coming. But how on earth did she have, and like, for her to have like fond memories of this ballet studio where presumably she was falling over 2 hours a night for a week.
Yeah, I have to imagine.
Yeah.
With Renee in the little glass container that they put the parents in.
Right.
And I know she was shaking her damn head, embarrassed. Not my mom, though. I was very good at ballet as a kid. So sorry, Bella. I can't relate.
I can't either because I didn't do ballet as a kid. My extracurricular as a kid was canoeing.
Wait, that's awesome.
I grew up kind of in a smallish area.
That seems like what they would do in Forks.
I grew up on a bayou.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Is the honest truth there. My mom would just sort of drop us off at this lady's house who taught canoeing lessons to local children and then just sort of go do her own thing while we were out there on the water.
That sounds honestly so awesome.
It's a great time. Looking back, thinking about how, we were just a bunch of kids loose on the water with one adult who may or may not have been able to see us, and also the animals and chemicals that were in that water. I made it. I was fine, but it was a good time.
Mm-hmm. Well, the lake raised you, or whatever body of water it was. I won't say bayou. You just
Dickinson
said that.
Bayou, to be specific. Nice. Shout out. None of my listeners have heard of Dickinson Bayou, except for maybe my sister-in-law. Bella, during this cab drive, we're hearing her repeat the opening, a similar version of her opening, a mini monologue from the start of the movie about how she never gave much thought to how she would die.
I'd never given much thought to how I would die. But dying in the place of someone I love seems like a good way to go.
Is that what she thinks she's going to do? Like, has she decided, because she's going to this dance studio, because in the previous scene, James called and said, I have your mom meet me at this dance studio. Mm-hmm. So is she does she think she's giving herself up to be eaten by James?
I have to imagine. And I mean, this is such quintessential melodramatic Twilight.
Yes, very.
I even was taken aback from the clip. I was like, oh, she thinks that she's going to die for Edward. And also she thinks, I've never given much thought to how I would die. I'm like, okay, the most 17-year-old thing to say.
Yes.
Because I think about that a lot, actually.
Yes. And to jump ahead a little bit, she says in differing from the opening lines, that she says something about not regretting the decisions that brought her face to face with death, but also brought her to Edward, a man that I will remind the listener she has known for less than one school semester. We don't know exactly how long, but at somewhere between March and prom, all of this has happened. That's not enough time, I think. I don't know many people that I've met and a couple months later at most would think, I'll die. But at least I got to meet you.
And most people don't have to die for their high school boyfriend.
That is very true.
But I also think, God, if it were me in her shoes, and by the way, when I was 17, I only knew gay men. Okay. So if there was a handsome, weird,
wealthy
man that was so obsessed with me, of course I would be like, yeah, wealthy, say that. Yes. Very wealthy.
Incredibly rich dad.
Exactly, doctor. I would be like, well, yeah, sure. I could see a situation perchance in which I would get swept up in the moment. And now, well, I had parents who wouldn't allow that to happen.
Sure.
No shade to Renee and Charlie. It is so ridiculous, but honestly, I can't say it's completely untrue to a young girl's experience, perchance. I said perchance so many times.
Hey, it's a good word, perchance. Just to be clear, a question I meant to ask her about 10 or 12 minutes ago, but forgot. Team Edward or Team Jacob, or a separate team altogether?
I mean, was there ever truly a Team Jacob is kind of my question.
I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask.
Because Jacob was never, ever truly an option.
Okay.
Bella never had any true interest in him. And she was always... Bella was Team Edward.
Sure.
And so I feel like probably the Team Edward, Team Jacob stuff was more like, hey girls, which guy do you think is hotter?
Right.
Which fair enough. I mean, I guess Robert Pattinson is hotter, but I was always a story girl.
Okay.
I really actually didn't care.
These sounds like what all that you're saying sounds like what a Team Edward person would say.
And so I will finally say Team Edward.
Yeah,
sure.
when you start off your answer with "Was there ever a Team Jacob?" definitely that's a Team Edward kind of things to say. Bella gets out of the cab. She shakes her pepper spray. I don't know what she thinks she's going to do with that.
Okay, and I had to watch that again because I was like, what is she shaking? Is that something that Charlie gives her?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the second time we've seen this bottle of pepper spray in the movie. The first time we saw it was maybe 25 scenes ago, episodes of this show ago. It's when the cops find Waylon's body. And they're on, Bella and Edward are on their way home from dinner in Port Angeles, and they go to the police station, and there's the body, and Carlisle is there, and Charlie is sad because his friend is dead. And he gives her that pepper spray then.
Right.
And now we see it for the second time.
Okay.
And I will point out in this episode, just like I did in that episode, that according to the IMDb goofs section of the Twilight movie, the fact that pepper spray canister she's holding is green means that it is a training canister, and there's only water in there.
I mean, well, it'll do her just the same amount of good.
Exactly.
To be honest.
Exactly. But thanks for nothing, Charlie Swan.
Oh, well, and also it's like, Bella, your dad's a cop. Take the gun.
That's okay. All right. As much as I am not Team Charlie in any of these situations, I feel like giving your daughter pepper spray, even if it's not real, is probably better than giving her a gun. Bella doesn't know how to use a gun. Look at her.
Oh, surely not. But in this situation, what can you do?
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to regret the decisions that brought me face to face with death. They also brought me to Edward.
And then she walks into Mimi's school of dance, and the scene is over. And that sort of leaves us all to wonder, where are Jasper and Alice, or as I keep wanting to call them, Jalice and Asper, the two vampires that were supposed to keep an eye on her. What are they doing? I would love to see an alternate sort of perspective, a Midnight Sun of this scene from Alice and Jasper's perspective, just freaking out because they lost the one thing they were supposed to keep a hold of.
Right. And it's like, shouldn't you be able to smell her going away?
Right. Or like hear her or see her.
They don't sleep.
Or as we talked about in the previous episode with Abby, one of you should have stayed with her.
Yeah.
It doesn't take two people to check out of a hotel.
Well, and Alice is famously kind of her bestie. And I was always an Alice girl.
Right.
Back
and
in the day.
Jasper, we're going to learn in about 2 movies, is supposed to be good with the strategy and the tactics.
Right.
And he is not displaying any of that in this film.
Jasper, I feel like Stephanie Meyer just had vague ideas for this guy, slapped him onto the page, and didn't think too much about it.
Jasper in this movie and just generally as a character has a real strong sense of, we'll figure him out later. Sometimes as a writer, you just sort of put something down. It's an idea. It's not fully fleshed out yet, but you're like, I'll get to that. I'll develop this further throughout the script. And then you kind of don't until you need to. And you're like, oh man, I gotta work a lot of stuff into not a lot of script. And that's just sort of Jasper's whole personality.
And then Stephanie Meyer was like, oh, Confederacy.
Civil War, obviously. Yeah.
That's the ticket.
Again, that is something we'll talk about in about 2 movies.
Yeah. Can't wait to get there.
You know what? Honestly, I'm ready for it. I feel like I'm the right person to take on Jasper.
Yes. And it's like he could have easily fought for the Union. There's just no reason.
We'll get into that in about 2 movies.
Let's not. But my controversial take on Jasper, and actually maybe this isn't controversial at all, but they gave him the craziest wigs of them all. And there's really crazy wigs in these movies.
There really are.
But I think they did him so crazy.
Yeah.
But yes.
Regardless, what do you think the conversation they're having during this cab ride while Bella is off doing her little thing? What do you think Alice and Jasper, what are they talking about right now? I wonder, I have to imagine Alice is blaming Jasper and Jasper's not saying anything.
Well, I'm just like, can Alice see the future so good that she's like, it's fine? But
yeah, or like, how does her future seeing work? Is it like, can she like choose to focus on something and see it? Or is it like That's So Raven where it just sort of overcomes her?
I was about to also say That's So Raven. There's 2 touch points for seeing the future, and it's Alice from Twilight and That's So Raven.
Yeah.
I have to imagine each of them were like, no, you were in charge.
Yeah.
For sure.
There definitely are moments in future movies where Bella is given a present and Alice says something like, you're gonna like this because I saw you liking it in the future. So like, why is she not, as soon as they realize Bella is gone, I assume she has to be like, I'm going to look into the future and see where she is, I guess.
Well,
I don't know.
And also, and I'm perchance they're actually in the process of doing this. Oh, you got me.
I thought you did it on purpose that time.
Oh, it's just in my blood.
Yeah. You should see a doctor about that.
They can taste it when the vampires get me. But
yeah.
I assume that they're kind of in the process of running to her right now.
I would imagine.
But how truly fast? Like, we never really get to the bottom of just how fast they can run.
Right.
Because it would seem to me it should be almost instantaneous.
They can run at least as fast or faster than a car.
Oh, easily.
Because a couple scenes ago, Bella and Edward are driving the truck through the forest, and Emmett does that thing where he jumps into the moving truck. Mm-hmm. So, like, they can run at least that fast.
Right.
I guess it's their main problem is figuring out where she's going, because they didn't hear the phone call. They don't know about the dance studio.
Right.
Other than Alice's drawing. Mm-hmm. So they are in pretty rough territory here.
I have to imagine, though, a girl like Bella's actually truly only been in two places. And it is Arizona and Forks.
Yes.
So by sheer numbers, like, it probably has to be Arizona.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on this in future scenes and see how long it takes Alice and Jasper to show up, because they should be right behind her.
Exactly.
And they're not, and that doesn't make that don't look good on them.
And they don't have a real job.
No.
So what's the holdup?
Again,
English homework?
Their only real job is watch Bella.
Literally.
And they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Honestly, I'm glad that we kind of stopped right before this scene, because the way that Kristen Stewart is acting in no spoilers for the people that are just watching Twilight for the first time, bit by bit, along with this
in the worst possible way.
But in what happens next, like, it kind of turns my stomach.
It's about to get pretty gruesome. Yeah, these next couple of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I was making the clips that I will send to your castmates once we get our recording dates figured out, and the next one's going to be rough.
It's and for all her eccentricities in this role, like, when Kristen Stewart is playing Bella in pain, like, I kind of feel that in a big way.
Yeah.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah, the next episode, the way I have it split out is everything that happens, like, after she walks into the school of dance, and then it ends right as Edward shows up. Mm-hmm. So it's just like 3 or 4 minutes of James kind of slowly torturing Bella. It's gonna be fun to talk about comedically for a half hour.
Right.
I feel bad for I don't know who it is yet, but I feel pretty bad for either Mary Kate or Sam. Not Sam, Casey, whoever winds up getting that one.
Yeah, that's gonna be a real just joke after joke.
Yeah, but listener, by the time you've heard this, it's already happened, and we're probably fine. Let's start to wrap up this part of the episode. I'm going to ask sort of my last question of the interview portion. If you had to give this scene a name, what would it be? And this is also going to be the name of the episode, so make it good. And you told me you listened to most of an episode, so maybe you cut off before hearing this question.
And perchance, I did. I think I would call this scene of the episode just Bella's Lament.
Bella's Lament.
It's kind of, if this were a musical, and God, I wish it was, this would be right before the big 11 o'clock number.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're reaching climax territory in terms of the narrative arc of Twilight, the motion picture. Mm-hmm. It's about to get very real. And then we're almost done with the movie. This is episode 60. We do not have too much more left before we get to New Moon.
Almost to the finish line.
Crazy. Riley Rogers, thank you so much for being on the show. If people like the sound of your voice, or maybe want to see you do live Twilight-inspired comedy, or follow you on social media, where can they do those kinds of things?
Yes. So I will be performing in Twilight the Passion Play.
That you heard about last week.
I will be playing, among other characters, mostly Esme Cullen. Like you already know, you can see it April 20th at The Annoyance. And on Instagram, I am Riley Rogers. Riley spelled exactly like you think it would be. WRYLY. Rogers spelled real. Rogers. Hopefully that was right. I was the first out in my first grade spelling bee.
There you go. If you want to follow this show on social media, you can do so at bite-sized podcast _ on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can also, speaking of Tumblr, something you mentioned like 25 minutes ago, you can follow this show on Tumblr at bitesizedpod, no underscore there. If you want to send an email to the show, you can send an email to myfavoritetwilightpodcast@gmail.com or send me a direct message or leave a comment on any social media channels to get in on the conversation, such as YouTube user at Adam Laza, who in another conversation about different wigs from a past episode says that canonically Alice was electrocuted before she was turned. She was given electroshock treatment, and apparently that's why her hair looks like that, is because she's just stuck with electrocution hair, and that's rough, because electrocution will eventually end, but to have the hair like that permanently is not fun. If you want to tell me more fun facts from the Twilight books that I have not read, you can leave a comment or send an email to that place that I mentioned, or you can find all that information and more at twilightpodcast.com. I'm also, speaking of New Moon, still working on my New Moon live show recording party thing that will be coming in late May, early June. Keep an eye on the social media for that, please. Thank you so much to my editor, Ben Oxer, for putting this all together. Thank you to the band Swimwear Department for letting me use their song Mauled to Death as our theme. And that is it. That is all we have for this episode of Bite Size. As we always say at the end of every episode,
bite me.
Bite me. See you next time.
Dying in the place of someone I love seems like a good way to go.